I feel like something's changed. Wow, is it boring around here? We should do something to spice things up. But what? Oh, I know. Let's talk about some hot takes. Alright, you go first. Well, go on, don't be shy. Okay, fine. I'll go first. But what to talk about? Oh! Ever hear of A Link to the Past? Released on the SNES on November 12th, 1991, sold 4.61 million units, arguably the most important game in the entire Zelda franchise because without it, modern Zelda would be nothing like what it is right now. Yeah, A Link to the Past, one of the best games of all time. A Link to the Past is, in my opinion, just okay. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a good game, just nothing special. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's start with some positives. This is the first Zelda game with some actual depth to it. So, Zelda 1 had items and a map. Great. Neither were anything to write home about, but for an NES game, they sufficed. Now enter A Link to the Past. Look how big this map is compared to Zelda 1 and how much more incentive there is to actually look for things. This is a massive improvement over Zelda 1, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise considering it's on a new console, but still, it's pretty nice. This world has a village with NPCs, ruins, a castle, a lake. It's so much fun to just see what you will come across when exploring the world, and on the flip side, there's even a whole other world that you can explore as well. But more on that later. For now, let's get back to items. The original Zelda game didn't really have any items that were all that interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone will ever call their friends to tell them, guess what? They just got the raft in Zelda 1.
Dude, you won't believe it. Yeah, with the raft.
Compare that list of items with A Link to the Past's. Holy crap, that's an improvement. I mean, it's only 20 items as opposed to Zelda 1's 10. But still, this game has more interesting items than the bait, which gets used once to bypass a roadblock that literally gives no indication that that is what he wants, but you know, it's whatever. Standout items include the hammer, where you can just charge up your attack and wham! As well as the cape, which makes you invisible, as long as you have enough magic. Still better than the stupid bait, though. Alright, now that I've covered the map and the items, what's next?
The story?
That's right, you heard it here first, folks. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is the first Zelda game to have an actual story.
Ah!
But
No.
it's not really anything special. The story is incredibly basic, which I guess is fine considering it's the first Zelda game to have an actual story, but still. The story is basically this. There's a wizard whose name I don't remember, and he's evil because he wants the power from the other realm. But he can't have it because the 7 sages are stopping him, so he kidnaps them and sends them away. I really can't remember any of the finer details because they're kinda irrelevant. Also, Ganon shows up at the end for no reason. Actually, there probably is a reason, but I just don't remember it. Story is technically the only thing that is wrong with the game, but honestly, when we're talking about a Zelda game, if the gameplay isn't spot on and the story isn't good, then there's really no reason to keep playing.
But what about the gameplay? That has to be good, right?
I'm sure the gameplay was perfectly fine when this game came out. Problem is, that was over 30 years ago, so the gameplay is pretty aged. Just little annoyances, like some items seeming to be optional, but in reality being anything but. Enemy movement patterns and even how you will move and attack kind of bog the whole experience of playing this game down a lot. Like I said, this gameplay was probably perfectly acceptable, maybe even revolutionary back when it came out. But this game is twice my age, so I'm gonna whine about it being old, thank you very much.
I feel like now is probably a good time to remind you not to take opinions from me.
Okay, so, gameplay is not fun. Did I enjoy anything about this game?
Why, yes, come to think of it.
The level design for the dungeons of this game is just so good. Every dungeon is so well put together that playing through them was a blast, even with my distaste for the gameplay. My favorite part of Zelda games is the dungeons, and A Link to the Past to this day still has some of the best in the entire series. Now, to be fair, every single Zelda game has well-designed dungeons. Even the bad ones like Phantom Hourglass still have enjoyable dungeons to play through. But the dungeons in A Link to the Past really stand out. Along with the dungeons, the bosses in this game are all really great. There's this fire toad thing, they have to break his mask, and I don't know why, but I love him. I want a plush of him. He's adorable. He killed me 4 times, but he's adorable. Other than the level design and the bosses, we still got graphics and music to go over, both of which are very well done. The graphics are so pleasant to look at. Like, look at all this color. The music's all very catchy tunes, though they do get a little repetitive. There's no real standout songs I can think of, except for the one that plays in the Overworld of the Dark Realm. I really like that one. And that's A Link to the Past. Yes, the game basically created my favorite franchise in all of gaming. Yes, the game was perfectly fine when it released and it's just aged poorly. Yes, most of my problems with the game are all opinion-based, but none of those are legitimate reasons for why I'm not allowed to like this game. I understand why it's so acclaimed, and I'm not even trying to sway people to my side here. All I have to say is that whenever I am playing this game, if I'm not in a dungeon, then I kind of just don't want to be playing it at all. So, when ranking this game in comparison to the others, how does it hold up? A Link to the Past is the best game in the series up to this point, and there is no doubt in my mind about that fact. However, when not ranking these games on objective levels of best and just ranking them on my personal enjoyment, it beats out Zelda II. I mean, I couldn't even finish that one, but honestly, I had way more fun playing through Zelda 1 than I did with A Link to the Past. So that's why I hate one of the best games ever made. That's a bit harsh. I don't actually hate this game, I just don't care for it all that much. But I can't deny it did have a very big impact on the Zelda series as a whole. And on my life, apparently. Get this thing off of me!